Hi, it's Sparkles Watson here, and one of my favourite Cardin Martin products is tea tree hoof oil. I would use this a lot at home as well as competitions. All of our horses live out, so they would have it on before they go out, and when they come in, it is brilliant at managing the moisture balance in their feet, so it stops when the ground gets too dry or when the ground is too wet. And then also it makes their feet look very sparkly and shiny at the competitions.
On the Grassroots Show, kindly supported by Foreign Equine, we know that dressage has the biggest phase influence at grassroots level. So I thought this is a perfect time to see how we can get every single mark possible in a dressage test. We are all etching out those final few marks, and the dressage standard is getting better and better. So it's so important. I have now brought Mark Ruddock on the show, our dressage judge. Thank you so much, Mark, for coming on and talking to us about all things dressage.
I hope so.
Well, before we get stuck into how we can actually make our tests better and get more marks, can you explain the marking system for us? Because it's 0 to 10, but 10 people sometimes think is perfect, but it's not, is it?
No, so 10 is excellent. So we never have anything that's perfect, Rosie, in life. So it's excellent. And it's like giving a 10. It's a bit like looking at the Mona Lisa. And do you like it? I don't like Mona Lisa. Would you give Mona Lisa a 10? Well, some people give it a 10. So it is very, very in the person's opinion to get that 10. You know, it is in the eye, and it's like beauty in the eye of the beholder. And then we have 0 for not performed, which is literally not, you'd have to, if you had a rein back and you were rearing or piaffing, then you may get a 0. But for the rest, you'd always scrape a 1. Because for me, if you're going, so the test, whether you're meant to be in watch, trot or canter, and you're going from A to C, down the centre line, if you somehow manage to keep on that map and get from A to C by whipping around bucket, but you get there eventually, you should get the 1. And then we go to 1. I can't remember. It's 2. 2 is bad. 3 is fairly bad. 4 is insufficient. 5 is sufficient. A very bizarre word, sufficient. It's like, is it or isn't it? 6, satisfactory. That's judge's favourite number. Well, that's 6.5, to be fair, is the judge's favourite number. And then 7, fairly good. 8, good. 9, very good. And then 10, excellent. So 6.5 is that sort of satisfactory movement. But all judges, we're all trained on scales of training. That is the first thing. There's 5 scales of training. And the first scale, so the lower the level, the less scales are in. So we're looking at like the 5th scale is for the Grand Prix horses. But for your novice, sort of anything, the intro horses to the 110 horses, you'd be at least wanting the first 2 scales of training. The first scale of training is rhythm. Rhythm is actually more difficult. The number of times I would write on a test, rhythm varying. So it's like in the trot, you know, you've got the 1, 2, the 1, 2, the 1, 2. It stays consistent. So the minute you lose rhythm, you're just giving the judge. So you sit there and in your head, you start with a 10. I start with a 10 and the rider takes the marks off of me. So then I start with my 10 and then I've got rhythm going. So I've then lost a couple of marks there because the rhythm's varying. That's one of my comments. And then the shape of the circle could be horrendous. Or the horse could be screaming to its friends in the car park and we're just deducting. So we do, I think people think we start at 1 and add. We don't. We start at 10 and deduct. So it's the riders to lose rather than, you know, so just don't give the judges a chance. And then the second scale of training is connection. Yeah. So that's about the horse accepting the contact. So that's literally like, is he like nodding to the bit? Is he accepting the bit? Is he bending? Does he bend and follow the lines? You know, is he going in the right direction? And is it all obedient? Now, the other thing, where grassroots riders go wrong, and I spend my life, is circles. Oh my God, circles.
The shape?
The shapes.
Right.
The shapes. I'm scraping my head now with stress. So basically, a dressage test is geometry. So we have the arena, and you'll be surprised how many people don't know. So 20 by 40, it's 40 metres long, 20 metres wide. The corner letters, M, H, K, and F, are 6 metres in from the end. The middle letter, obviously the B and the E, are 20 metres in from the end. So when you do a half 10 metre circle at those corner letters, if you touch the track, you're doing a 6 metre half circle, so you need to be a metre off the edge. Now you can get away with it at the far end, the A end, the judge can't see. Well, when you're doing those half 10 metre circles, which quite often in those lower level tests, you do a half 10 metre circle, trot, return to the track. If you go touching the track in front of her, she's like, round shape. So you need to be, and I know it's only a metre, but that is why the likes of, when they all go, oh, the professional riders, because they don't let the judges, like you watch Pippa, you watch Laura, they literally go past the judges going, you are not going to take anything off of me. And when you do it under their noses and then you hit the board and the judge is like, there's another deduction. And I make it sound like we're all evil, like we just want to be mean and go, there's another one, there's another mark I can take off of her. Like, it's your marks to lose, not them to give you. And then there's 20 meters, and then when you do 15-meter circles, all my life.
I really like the idea, though, that you're starting at a 10, because some people do think, oh, you've got to work up, when actually, no, you want to give the 10s.
Yes, you do.
It's us just making sure we are riding correctly to actually get the 10. And I think you're talking about shapes and circles and accuracy then. Would you say that's the biggest mistake in grassroots riders? Yeah.
Hugely. And that's what I don't understand is, like, because all arenas are 20 by 40 for grassroots. And then, yes, you go to championships, you go to badminton, to grassroots championships. Then we have a long arena, and that's probably a whole new podcast, is long arena dressage test riding. Because there's more markers and there's more maths to be done. But like a 20 by 40, like I would make my riders like walk it on foot, literally walk on, because I teach people from brain surgeons to just normal people, and some people have no spatial awareness. However intelligent they are, it's nothing to do with intelligence. Spatial awareness is there or it's not. So I like make my riders like literally walk it on foot, like a 3-loop serpentine. Oh my God, 3-loop serpentine. It's 3 even sizes. So I always think it's like a cake. No, it needs to be split into 3. The middle part of a serpentine goes between both letters, between the middle letter and the corner letter. You need to be straight over the centre line, and that's the middle. And then the same with the third one. It's not difficult, I don't think, but you'd be surprised. But then a 15-metre circle throws people into complete conniptions. The 15-metre circle at B&E isn't so bad because you leave 5 metres off the B side or the E side, depending where the fifth. But 15-metre circles at A and C, oh my days, because they have to be 2.5 metres from the edge, 5 metres from X. And if you don't get the first 2.5 metres off, then you'll never get that shape. So the tip is, on a 15-metre circle, when your horse's nose gets to the letter C or A for the 15-metre circle, start to make the turn. If you wait for your leg, you'll never make the circle. And then consistency of bend around the circles as well. It's like, did no one go to pony club and know that you meant to see your pony's inside eye on a circle and in the corner?
Addressing these mistakes, it sounds simple. How would you go about addressing them?
Over in Ireland, we do all the registered, all the affiliated shows take unregistered. You can do an unregistered entry. We're lucky over here because you only enter on a Sunday to go to the show the next Sunday. So you can plan your life, where I know with BD, you have to know what you're doing in 6 weeks' time. Same with eventing. Eventing over here is the same, just enter the week before. So you're not thinking, will he be lame or will he, it makes life so much easier. And I get we have smaller numbers. But I tell all my clients to go out and do it. They can go on a ticket. Go and get practice. Because you all go out and do show jumping practice week in, week out. Cross-country schooling, week in, week out. And then you all forget the bit that actually makes you win or not win. I know you've got to jump, but you all have your jumping down to, everyone has their jumping down to a T now. Everybody. But they're like, I'm going show jumping schooling tomorrow. I'm like, why are you not going dressaging? So I now do make them, and they do it, go and do quite a lot, or even down to the riding club. Just get in the arena and get the practice in. If you go to the riding club, like you're going there for test riding, sometimes you can just have unregistered judges. It could just be somebody that's like horsey. So don't worry about maybe what the comments down the riding club person would say. You know you're there for getting the practice in, getting your shapes. And walk the blooming thing on foot. Like if you've got an arena at home, or put it in your garden, measure it and get it spatially awareness. Yeah?
I think that's really good advice, because so often we turn up, we ride in these arenas, but we have never set one up ourselves a lot of the time. And it totally changes your perspective of space when you can actually know where things are meant to be once you've set it up. And I think also riding in that arena frequently, because we may ride in our arenas at home, but they're not the same size. And I think often when you go in there, you suddenly feel crammed in. Yeah. And we need to get used to that space.
And my other thing, Rosie, is so all the eventers, they will go and practice. They practice to go show jumping. They get their practice to go skiing. Most event horses, every time they go to an event, the riders, they're not schooled enough. So actually, they go to an event and they're like, you have to do your best. You have to do your best. And like, the horse is like, practice show jumping. So it does do its best because it's so confident. You are, because you went out Wednesday evening before the event to a show jumping thing. Or you went to Friday morning. Got all your jumping completely sorted. And then all the event horses are like, and all the riders go and go, this needs to matter but the horse has got no practice about being confident in the arena. It matters. Where if you make it as equally boring and as you do your show jumping rounds, then you ride a better horse rather than you've got to do your best. You've got to do your best. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. The horse doesn't enjoy it because it's not doing it enough.
And I suppose that impacts your presentation, because we hear people say how important it is to, even if it's not going well, pretend you're sat on Vallegro. I've been told multiple times, even when I'm very, very much not. How important is that presentation?
So my other thing, like when they go around the edge, say hello to the judge, because you look up, and even if they don't say hello, just like be confident going around the edge. You see some people, especially like I judged a 90 like last year, and there were like people like, I remember them coming in like with their, if they could have like put their heads into their jackets, they were like, I don't want to be here. I'd rather have my teeth out. This is like the worst thing in my whole life. They crawl around the edge, don't look up, looking down, and they're not owning the arena. And then when they come down the centre line, I would say to my riders, go down the centre line and stare that evil woman in the eyes, meet her eye head on, or his eye, like stare her, like give her the evil, not evils, but like really like own it. You go in, looking down, shuffling, because you can't see where you're going when you're looking down either. And you look up and go, Jesus Christ sees over there. Then there's a quick yank on the rein, because you're like, and then he's sort of wang in this corner. You need to, it all is about presentation, and you need to own that. And I know it's difficult because everyone's like, this is awful. But those good riders, and to be fair, you ride confidently, and it gives the judge, as you come down the centre line, positive, and looking at them, they'll be like, oh, this one means business. And you sit up and take them seriously. The ones that shuffle around the edge, and you ring the bell, and they shuffle in, you're like, oh, Jesus, and it's just awful. I feel awful for them because they don't practice it enough. They don't.
It's going to be a long 6 minutes then.
The longest 6 minutes ever. And chatting away. I'm quite lenient just when I hear the people chatting, but there's lots of people like talking away to their horses and clicking. So I always like, when I train people, if they start, some people click and they don't even know they're clicking. They need to stop clicking because you can get 2 marks knocked off. And that's the other thing you see, if you go out practicing your dressage, and there's no reason why you can go for practicing your dressage and go show jumping on the way home, because it's hardly exhausting. Because I always get, he needs to go jumping, I'm like, ugh. And then they always have double clears, and then they get a 42 dressage and wonder why they came 11th, the best. Yeah, because those days have gone.
Yes, dressage is so important now. Like I said, it's the most influential phase in grassroots eventing, and you can see the scores of the people who are really working are going down and down and down, and it's so competitive now. And I think, but all of them have also got ringcraft. Now, ringcraft we hear a lot.
Yes.
How can you learn that? Is it something you'll just have?
So I think ringcraft comes from actually just practice. And I mean, a lot of people seem to have the cameras that they can film themselves at home. You need to be so self-critical of your own riding. Or even if you drag that poor husband or boyfriend who really doesn't want to be with you at the event, at least give him your phone. And you need to really be self-reflecting in your training. And you need to probably go say to, most trainers, I don't know, I'm probably quite horrible. I think most trainers can be like, don't really think about their ringcraft, and they go about the way of going with the horse. So most places, and BD, I know, and over here we do, like the test riding days with not random judges, but people you don't know. You rock up and do the test, and then you need to be, it is about being self-critical and actually going out there and putting yourself in test riding situations where somebody actually will pull you to pieces. We can't be snowflakes, we dressage riders.
No, you need that criticism, or else how are you going to improve? You need the feedback.
Yes.
And talking of feedback, we often, I know many of us have done this, we get our dressage sheet, we look at the score.
No, Rosie, I've quite often, but at the end of the day, back in the day, when you go and get a check for your travel, and the event's literally finished, and there's at least 100 dressage sheets still left. People don't pick them up.
No. Well, my question was going to be, how do you interpret and use the feedback the judges have given you? Because you're writing it for a reason. You want people to improve. Yes. But we so often just, like say, look at the score, or whether you bother to pick up your sheet and then just throw it in the side of the lorry.
I know, you see, and quite often, like I would have lots of times where you'll see the score online before they get the sheet, and then they don't get the sheet, and then. But when I make them get the sheets, they then actually, there's not many judges that are horrible. There's not, oh, she's a meanie, that one. And to be fair, when you then actually look at your video and then read what she puts, because in the moment you feel it was okay, or you feel it was better, and then you look and you go, oh my God, I was shuffling, I wasn't going a yard, but I was really, really. And that's the other thing. When people start to go for accuracy, they probably forget about impulsion because they're so busy about, I need to go here, micromanage every step. And then when they micromanage every step, they think about the horse's way of going, and the horse will be like, oh, good, she's having a day off upstairs. She's more worried about the map. I'll just shuffle and not use myself. And so they'll come out and get the same score they got the last week for being a bit forward and shape's been bad. But the judge will have put nice shape, but needs to be more energetic or more activity or more impulsion. And then when they can, I call it being able to rub your head and pat your belly, that you can ride the quality of the horse and do the map and do the accuracy. So I think you need to get the sheets. And if you have it with a video, then you'll see, 99 times out of 100, you will agree with what she put. You might not on the day, when you get home and watch the video, you'll be like, ugh, she was right. She was right. It wasn't forward. It was looking lazy. And then when I ride myself, quite often the tests where you feel we're on the edge of, Jesus Christ, that was a little bit leery, they're the ones the judges like. The ones where you're like, oh my God, because it's on the edge of energy and impulsion, but you felt it was a ticking time bomb. And you come out and you're like, that was awful. And the judge's like, oh, it was beautiful. And it was all on the edge. And it is about being brave as well, that you actually say to those judges when you're riding in a test, and if you have to correct something, like if your first transition was a little bit behind your leg, it sort of a bit lumped into canter, don't be afraid to give it a kick, the horse, and say, you get in front of my leg, I'm not losing any more marks. Because when you see grassroots riders go, they accept a running into canter or a bit lumpy, and then the circle's all lumpy and laboured, and then it gets more laboured because the horse is like, oh, she's just sat there doing nothing. Take the risk of giving your horse a little reminder that you stay in front of my leg, and then the horse, so you'll probably get a 6 of that movement, which you're going to get anyway, but you say, oh, you come on, stay in front of my leg, repair it, get it back up, get it back in front of your leg and ride, and then the marks will come back up, rather than just staying low and getting probably lower because it gets even more and more behind your leg. So don't be afraid to correct the horse being slightly cheeky, or your horse. And as a judge, you say, for God's sake, give it a kick, will you, girl? Make it happen. Where the confident riders are the ones that have done quite a lot of dressage. You don't have to be a top rider, but the ones that are actually quite show riders that turn to dressage, or show riders that go eventing. Because they have, from a young age, been in the show ring, they have to make those horses, and they're really good riders, dressage riders, because they just know the quality, and they don't allow the horse to make a mistake, or it just make a mistake. They correct it, and they move on, and go back to the 8s again. When somebody makes a mistake, or the horse has a little kick out of the aid, you see them go, oh, you're not happy today? I'll just take my legs off, and we'll just make it to we'll survive. It's you wouldn't do that around the Chicago show jumps because you'd either stop or have 3 down. It's the same thing. You don't like that movement. What are we going to do to make the next movement better?
And because it is just one movement, you're only marked for that one movement. So if you lower on that, it doesn't matter as long as the rest is. You have to park it and move on. It'd be a bit like having a show jump down. If you keep thinking about that show jump down you've had, you'll have more. You've got to make it better. It is the same. Dressage is show jumping without jumps. And you talk about, being brave and riding for the movements. Yeah. As a dressage judge, would you rather see somebody be brave and it not quite come off as they thought and sit tentatively? Totally.
Because it's a risk and reward thing, and they're trying, and it's that's a shame. It didn't come off because you tried, rather than it didn't come off because you weren't trying. And they're showing their horse off to the best.
Yes, yeah. They're actually giving it a go, not just slowly navigating around and hoping for the best.
Because you've got to remember, those poor judges can sit through 50, 90 centimetre horses all day. And it's one brown horse after another. And you need something. And you all end up on 35.5, because that's 6.5 throughout. And they come to you at the end of the day, could I talk about a test? And you're like, what was your score? And they're like, I went 20th and I got 35.5. I was on the bay horse. And you're like, nah. Because they all pale into insignificance. Because nobody. And when somebody comes in, rides around the edge, looks up, says good morning, and is flashing around and sat up looking proud, and you sit up again and you're like, oh, good. And maybe, I think sometimes you may overmark those ones when they come up about 20 horses in. You're like, oh my God, you might get a bit overexcited. I'm not going to lie. You may go a bit high because you're a bit like, thank God somebody's come to the party. Because it's a long day for them. It's a long day, and you're only getting 45p a mile and a bottle of wine. It's not, you know.
You want somebody to come in, grab your attention. It's like doing a presentation. You know, those people who dribble on, you're just not interested. You want somebody to say, wake up, let's go.
And you imagine 20 presentations dribbling on.
It's a lot.
and I don't hold with the going first or going last makes any difference at all. I would say going towards the end in a 90 and in the grassroots classes. If I've had 50, I become more and more intolerant throughout the day because I'm like, and he's saying to your writer, odd shaped circle, rhythm varying, and she's like, she would just get a rubber stamp for this odd shape, and then I think you get a bit more intolerant. You're like, no, another one, like on your 35th, and then somebody else comes in and it might be like powering around. You might go circle a little large, but good energy and good this, and you give it an 8 because it's actually. Yes, so it's micromanaging. It's making sure you can ride the shapes without killing the quality of the horse. But that does happen for a while. While you're getting accurate, you will lose power because you can't do two things at once. You can't rub your head and play your belly.
Another thing we see written on sheets a lot is harmony. Now, what is harmony and how do we achieve that?
Harmony is when you're both on the same page. So harmony is when it looks like, I thought of going over there. I thought of going into canter. I thought of doing this circle. The smoothness and fluency. And it looks like that you would think, you sat around the edge. A harmony one for me is when I think I'd like to have a go on that one.
Yes.
Like, it looks so biddable, so on side, and everything's just a breeze without any kicks and any yanks. And it's all just beautiful. And now they've changed the rider mark at the bottom to effect now. It used to be position and seat, and now it's effect. Which I think is better, and quite often you'll see effect underlined. So effect is when you ride around for a 6 and you're not being very effective, and the judge is like, for God's sake, give it a bloody kick, be braver, be more positive, and that's effect, which I think is better than rider's position.
Yes, because it is about your effectiveness, and as you say, dressage is basically show jumping without the poles, and if you're not effective in show jumping, poles fall down. So it's the same.
So that'd be the same, Rose. If you had like the second fence down and it landed, and you knew it had it down because the canter was flat, you give yourself a little bit of a kick, and you give him a kick and say, "Come on, more canter, more jump," because we're not going to get over this next fence, and it wakes you up. And it's the same thing as I was saying earlier. When you make that lumpy transition to canter, you think, "No, you're going to have this," and that's why I always try with my event riders. I'm always like, "It's a dressage test with jumps in the way. What's the next jump going to be like out of that canter? What's the next jump going to be like out of that?" You know, where I have to do jumping and edges all the time, so anyway, just keep them on side. And then all it takes is and if you keep going and doing the unaffiliated and getting out and about and doing it, once you start to get your marks come better, you then do, and confidence does build confidence. We say that in everything in life. But and I do have to then put whatever it is on this. Some judges will not like your horse, and that is just the way it is, and it's just personal. So don't be like thinking you're rubbish. Sometimes some judges you don't agree.
Yeah, it's just the way it is.
And
some
especially
days
if you're 40th in on that day and you're the 40th 90 horse.
So for riders who are looking to maybe step up a level in their eventing and in their dressage, what are some of the foundational skills you think they need to prioritize before they make that step?
So I always think like every horse should be working at a higher level at home than it should be at a show. You see so many people like in a warm-up, if they're like moving up to like like a 110 with the leg heels and stuff in, practicing in the warm-up, and you think that's not even secure at home because of some, you wonder what that is. I think it's making sure you're working at a higher level at home, and then then the horse, for me, then you go to the show and it's going down a level. It's having a happy day, easy day. You won't go out jumping, I don't believe, when I rented. You wouldn't have, your horse wouldn't, if you were jumping 100, you would have had it round a 105 at home, like at shows, I believe, because you actually need to be confident. So I think, and there is enough dressage shows in England to get in the week You need to keep going to the arena, getting out and working at a high level. If you're doing like 90s and 100s, you need to be thinking that you can do some novices. And then you go to an event, the horse will be like, this is so easy, and working. And I find it, and it is difficult training, especially when you get to the high level. When mid-season, we get a 3-star horse going 4-star because it's actually been really good at jumping, but we've got nowhere near the flying changes. That kills that. It sends me shivers, but it is what it is because the horse is jumping well enough to go 4-star. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, we've not even gone near a flying change. We have to bodge through that and then wait for the winter. But then it's the same. So you don't know, most even novice horses, they can so improve that you end up like with a 110 horse going to 115 in a season. I mean, you didn't think it was going to. Then it has to learn shoulder, it has to learn simple changes. So you have to accept when your horse is upgraded mid-season because it's talented, it's jumping, the dressage probably needs sort of just covering up until the winter where you can get the work into it.
Yes, exactly.
And then for people then when they get to their grassroots championships, the long arenas, you need to find long arenas and get the mats because long arena riding is a whole new skill set. Because the mats of a long arena, you have the corner letters in all arenas are 6 meters, and then the long arena, the R, the V, the P, they're all 12 meters apart. So when you have a 20-meter circle in a long arena, which you do in that grassroots test, 20-meter circle at C, everybody goes out to the R and the V line, which is the invisible letter I, but that's only 18 meters from the edge because 6 and 12 is 18. So you need to be 2 meters further away.
A little bit over it.
Yes. And everyone's like, oh, I thought it was that letter there. But you're sensible people. And if you look at a diagram, if you just go on Google and do 25 by 60 arena, it will actually put the meterage. And you think, you're sensible people. Like, even I can work out 6 and 12 is 18.
We all just go, right, what test am I doing? This is the test I'm doing. Right, let's learn it. La, la, la. Let's go ride it. Whereas we don't often go, okay, right, actually, where are these movements?
Where am I meant to actually go to each point?
Exactly.
And the judge knows where you're meant to go. And so you do this beautiful circle, and then you do an 18-meter circle, which will feel weird because it won't be actually a circle because it's 18 meters and not. It will feel weird. And then you're like, oh, that mean old cow only gave me a 7. And you're like, yeah, because. And when you get to championship level, grassroots badminton and all those grassroots championships, you are there to pick because they're all of a standard because they've got there. So that's when, as a judge, you're like, you're at a championship. I am going to be so anal about you being 1 meter here or 0.5 meter here because the next girl in, she wasn't. And I need to separate you somehow because you're all very good. And yes, you get the hot horse that's a bit wild and that goes. But you go to badminton, look at the standard, and it literally comes down to who rides every inch of that bloody grass. And that's what they're there for. It's quite a different sort of judging when you go to a championship because you're there to, well, not be mean, but you actually have to be so, you can knock that off there because you need to find reasons to pull marks off them.
Yes, exactly. And talking of standard, it's getting better and better at times. Really? There's some really, really, really nice dressage tests coming out of the dressage arena. Does that make it harder or easier to judge?
Oh, it makes it so much easier because you sit there, because normally when you've got a horse, so as judges, we have to comment on anything from 6.5 and below. So some days, this poor random writer that's given a whole day up because she gets a free schooling next week or something there, which she'll never want to do ever again. Some of them never get to look up because if a comment at 6.5 and you're so and then you see them, she's like, I've got writer's cramp. And then sometimes you're like, can I give that a 7? Just give my writer a second not to write a box in. It's true. So when you get the ones where you're going 7, and to be fair, I'm very clear that when I'm giving 7.5s, I will give reasons as to how it can be better.
Yeah.
Because quite often you get the 7.5s and there's no comment, but we want 8, 9, and 10. And when I do just training, I'm always quite clear, yes, sometimes you're giving your writer a little rest, but when the riders want to know how to get to the 8 to the 9, so don't be lazy yourselves. But literally, so you and your writer can look up and be like, take time and 8, 7.5, 9. It just makes, it does.
And would you say it would be useful for more riders to be writers to learn?
Well, yes, apart from if they get the ones where they get 6.5 all day.
Yeah.
But yes, I do. Even if it was they go and write for a higher level, they'll see where riders can use the corners and it makes you appreciate everyone that's ever written for me has always gone, I didn't realise how much you could see.
Yes.
Which I found quite bizarre, and also it makes an appreciation about actually how difficult the judge's job is when you've got those big classes as well. Because everyone hates anti-judges, isn't there? So, the judges are only ever liked by the person that wins, aren't they?
Yes, I suppose you're right there. And what would be the most common misconception about judges throughout your time as a judge?
That were horrible. That we know nothing. Yeah.
They've just plonked a random person in a car and...
And what I think everyone forgets is, like, judges, like, we have to spend so much money on training and CPDs, and we honestly get 45p a mile and a bottle of wine. And quite often, like an event, you'll get sent a sandwich. It's not like, and I know it's all volunteers are the same, but a dressage judge has a massive responsibility because they start the day, they start the score for the rider, and then they'll go, what does she know? Well, to be fair, the training we do, they do know quite a lot. I used to be so very, thank God I wasn't on Facebook around then because I'd have been banned. I was very vocal about judges. And then one lady, a very nice lady who died last year, said to me, you can't slag something off that you don't know about. So I thought, well, there you go. And that's how I started judging. And then a lot of riders now judge because they're a bit like, yeah, you appreciate it. So
it's that behind the scenes aspect that I think more and more people need to do at all aspects of an event is go behind the scenes. You really then do learn what it's about and how you can improve, and it gives you a totally different perspective.
Totally. And go to like Ingrid can do the clinic the other day where I came over to Wellington and stuff and watched. I know you're like, I don't really like dressage. Go to dressage clinics and just demonstrations and just watch them, and listen.
They are fascinating. Even at lunchtime performances at badminton, there's normally a dressage demonstration. That's great fun.
Yeah, exactly. For me, like, the better they go on the flat, the better they jump. And that is just the way it is. Because they become more athletic. They build better muscle. They become more supple. They become more responsive. They become more biddable and more rideable. But sometimes it is trying to, like, preach to the unconverted.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show and giving all your advice and top tips.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Rosie.
Well, thank you so much. No, it's been brilliant to hear all your advice. Thank you as well to Foreign Equine, who are very kindly supporting the Grassroots Show this year. Listeners, I hope you really enjoyed that and picked up a few very important pointers from what Mark had to say. Even if it is, just put a really big grin on your face, smile as you go around the arena, and mean business, because it all does matter in making your marks the best they can be. Well, we're really looking forward to seeing some of these scores getting lower and lower. I love doing my mid-season review where we can take a look at where everybody is at and some of the dressage scores that have come in so far, because each year I'm sure they are getting better and better.